What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again. So there I was, writing videos about the Witch Queen reveal, the Trials update, weapon crafting, and the Void subclass update. And it dawned on me what the coolest part of Witch Queen is going to be. Now, some of you might be screaming, "The Joker!" It's going to be the raid. It's going to be crafting. It's going to be the story. Some of you might be looking at the itemization of Witch Queen and thinking, a story mode, a raid, an ill-defined crafting system. Okay, that's cool, but perhaps it's not as interesting as the seasonal content coming out in 2022. Not only will there be a new focus on PvP, but all the light subclasses are going to get extensive reworks. Bungie has promised 2 raids, 3 dungeons, on top of whatever seasonal activities and loot grind and story modes that all lead up to Lightfall. That is categorically the most alive Destiny has ever been in its almost 7 years of being a live service game. I mean, honestly, what a time to be a Destiny player, right? And yet, what if I told you these things are all wonderful, but not the coolest aspect of Destiny going into 2022? And no, of course, I don't mean some self-centered joke about how I'll be covering it all for you wonderful people's viewing pleasure. I mean, that's gonna be cool, but it's not the coolest thing coming to Destiny. It's just the coolest thing coming to this channel. But the coolest aspect of Destiny 2 2022 is encompassed in some of these things. Here, let me ask you another question. A question within a question, oh viewer mine. What is the biggest issue with Destiny? Since Destiny 1, it is the only thing that has ever stayed consistent. In fact, it is quite possibly the most singular thing in the totality of the franchise's existence to stay consistent. Okay, enough foreplay. It's the game of buffing and nerfing that Bungie plays with not only our hearts, but our god tier loot and our favorite subclasses. The Joker! I hear you cry out. Bungie will still nerf things come Witch Queen. In fact, Bungie has gotten better, stronger, faster, and harder at putting out nerfs. Oh, right you are. Well-timed butt Joker segue. Oh, right you are. But Witch Queen will be introducing a feature, whether it be on purpose or accident, that will help to alleviate the crushing frustration and disappointment and annoyance of having things you love nerfed into the ground. Unless it's an exotic, and then you're just shit out of luck. Witch Queen will be adding modularity. What do I mean? Well, the most blatant example is the crafting system. While this will not encompass every weapon in Destiny at release, it will encompass a lot, and likely every piece of new loot going forward. A kind of soft sunset, if you will. While everything you love will still be in the game and usable forever, there will be more incentive than ever to switch to using new gear, purely because you can craft it, which is a wonderful incentive because it doesn't invalidate what you've already spent time getting, but it gives you a reason to chase new loot, without necessarily making the new loot that much more powerful than what we currently have in the game. But we're not here to talk about that. Come Witch Queen, with the introduction of the crafting system, when Bungie inevitably nerfs a perk on a weapon that you like, for example, Igneous Hammer, because it's one of the most recent examples of from top dog to dead dog in one nerf that we have, everybody remembers how not so long ago 120s with Rampage or other damage-dealing perks could 2-tap all day, every day. This arguably needed to be addressed. But now there's probably a lot of people who had god rolls, the Igneous Hammer, that have vaulted them, because Rampage is kinda sort of a dead perk on it now. At least when compared to other options. But now, if you have a weapon that you used a lot and Bungie nerfs a perk on it, you can just recraft that weapon and fill in the lost perk slot with something new. That is fucking amazing. How many of you wonderful ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, let me know in the comments below, have lost god rolls because one perk was nerfed? And if you could swap out that one perk for something else, you'd still have a viable weapon. Traditionally in Destiny, when this happens, you're forced to go grind out another copy of that weapon and hope for the best. But now, your use of that weapon will be rewarded. Gasp, shock, horror, lightning crackle, lightning crackle, lightning crackle. Bungie actually respecting player time and investment? What? I'm pretty sure most people only really considered using the crafting system to forge god-rolled weapons from the start, but this system also has the ability to fix the all too common, well, I had a god roll, but then Bungie fucked it up issue. The same goes for subclasses. Each light subclass will now be given the stasis subclass treatment, and this will inevitably create a one build to rule them all for each subclass. We sort of kind of already have that, but details. And one of the biggest issues with the subclasses currently is if you want to main a cluster of perks, because you just like that build. If Bungie touches anything in that perk cluster in a negative way, it could damage other aspects of that cluster, or make part of your subclass entirely worthless, thus invalidating large aspects of the way that players like to play the game. I mean, this has happened time and time again. With the light subclasses adopting the aspect and fragment system, however, say for example, one day Bungie decides that Striker Titans, having a perk that gives them the ability to have 2 grenade charges at once, is a little OP. It's not really an issue now because Code of the Earthshaker is by no stretch of the imagination meta, but in a reality where I can mix and match my perks, this ability combined with others, current and unknown, may be way too powerful. But the problem is, in this hypothetical, Bungie has already released the subclass changes with this perk intact, Fragment of the Magnitude, and only just now realized how broken it was after the fact. Now, it doesn't give you an additional grenade, it gives you back grenade energy based on, I don't know, the number of targets affected by your grenade. Not a horrible change, but it's not 2 free grenades. If Bungie did something like that in the current sandbox, where the perks are static, well, Lordy starts playing and telling me to welcome to my life, because there's no turning back. I'm still going to use Code of the Earthshaker because I use the class purely for Seismic Strike, Shoulder Charge. But in Witch Queen, if the magnitude aspect is nerfed into the ground, I can just take it off. My subclass isn't ruined because one perk was changed. I can remove it and replace it with, I don't know, the knockout aspect. Knockout currently states that critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shields increases your melee range and damage. So now my build goes from being a kind of ability jack of all trades, master of none, to further cementing its role as a hard-hitting melee class. And that is fucking amazing. So yeah, nerfs will still happen, but because of modularity, you're no longer back to square one. You're no longer forced to regrind loot you love because one perk got hit, or play with a subclass that is half worthless because one ability got tuned. And that quality of life change, more than any raid or dungeon or story about Savathun's big mommy milkers, quite possibly the greatest change in the history of Destiny. I know, right? Weird. Who could have seen that giving players more control over how they play was a good thing? But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous, but above all else, stay frosty.